What's up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingNews.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. Well, this should be fun and very unexpected, at least for me. I did not think Oaklawn Park could pull this off. Not because Oaklawn Park isn't great, just because, hey, sovereignty versus journalism, first race of the year as a 4-year-old for each of them. Surely that can't happen at Oaklawn Park on April 18th. It's happening. It is the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap, mile and an eighth here, $1.25 million a purse. It is a field of 6. It is a short field because it is loaded with 3 superstars and a couple other horses that aren't that bad either. This is going to be, like I said, a lot of fun. Let's go through them one by one. We'll give you a winner at the end, a little bit harder than you might think. First of all, before we get going, the first thing that really jumped out at me is a field of 6 with not a lot of pace signed on here. There's not anybody that really wants to be on the lead. Quick scan through the past performances. If you go back through the first 6 races, or the last 6 races, I should say, of all these horses, only one of them have been on the lead on the first and the second call, and that was Wyatt Abarrio way back at Gulfstream Park of March 29th of 2025 in the Ghost Zapper. He was in front that day and won by 5 1/4. So nobody really going to want the lead. Wyatt Abarrio probably going to be in front here on a race really devoid of early speed. All right, let's get to it. Number 1, Wyatt Abarrio is where we'll start. He is the horse that is going to set the pace, I would imagine, in here. Coming off that second place effort, beat just a length and a three quarters last time out in the Pegasus World Cup down at Gulfstream Park. Good race there from him. Looked like the winner. He turned for home with his mind on business, right? And I think everybody was like, wow, Wyatt Abarrio going to make it back to back. And then you scan back and you see Skippy Longstocking come out from the clouds and win that race and beat Wyatt Abarrio. You know, it could have just been a case of Wyatt Abarrio maybe he was a little bit short for that race. There kind of been some whispers that maybe he wasn't quite ready for a top effort there. Of course, he's kind of been hit and miss. It is kind of crazy. You know, back in 2024, the horse did win the Breeders' Cup Classic. He also won the Pegasus World Cup. Then he kind of didn't run all that well for a while. Was going to run at the Breeders' Cup and the Breeders' Cup a dirt mile and had to scratch. And everybody was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe this is kind of it for him. And then he runs that good race in the Pegasus World Cup. I would say, 90 out of 100 times he would show up here and be the favorite for the Oaklawn Handicap. And here he's the third choice at 7-2. I'm going to tell you something. He's worth a hard look because he is in form. He does have a race under his belt this year. It was a big race. He does have a very much has a pace advantage. So I think he's one that's pretty dangerous in this spot. I don't really view him the same as Sovereignty, but he's got some advantages over him in this spot. Irad Ortiz gets aboard for the second straight race. Another horse that's become decent, at least, is the number 2 Liberal Arts. He comes into this race off of a win last time out in a stakes race at Churchill Downs by 3/4 of a length. 2 races back was 4th in a stakes. 3 races back was 3rd in a stakes. That was back last January at Oaklawn Park. Been off for almost a year. That's the bad news. The good news is, though, they're still trying with the source. They brought him back. They're trying to get him back to the races here. That's a really tough assignment. Don't have a lot of interest in him here, but good to see him back. I think this is a horse that can win kind of the lower graded races. I just don't think this one's going to be for him. Let's keep going. Number 3 is Sovereignty, the reigning horse of the year, and it was well-deserved and well-earned. Won the Fountain of Youth on debut last year, 2nd in the Florida Derby in a race where he just didn't run all that well. And then he goes crazy. 4 straight victories, Kentucky Derby, Belmont, Jim Dandy, and Travers. Each race more impressive than the next. He was heading into the Breeders' Cup Classic where he would have been the favorite in the race, and he had to scratch because of a fever the week of the race. So he was out of the Classic. And now we get him back here. Workouts look pretty solid. Everything seems to be, all systems go. I don't think they would send him to Oaklawn unless that was the case. And look, I think we saw him, the best version of him last year. Belmont, Jim Dandy, Travers, this horse was really, really good. And I think he's going to be very difficult to beat if he can show up. And who knows, he could improve as a 4-year-old. We know that is very possible. If he does, I think he's going to be very tough to beat. He's a world-class horse, but he's coming off a layoff. and that's where White Abarrio's got the advantage. Let's go to the number 4, Duke of Deval here, as Asmussen's going to throw in a couple. This is the first one for him. His son Keith Asmussen will ride him here. 5th, beaten 6 lengths last time out in the Essex. 4th at beaten 2 1/4 last time out, or 2 races back, I should say, in the Mine Shaft. Horse, though, 3 races back, did get a victory at Oaklawn Park in an allowance. I mean, let's face it, he's a little bit overmatched here, kind of just thrown in here to kind of fill out the rest of the field. The number 5, Journalism, is next, and this is the one that I am shocked is here. We kind of knew all along White Abarrio and Sovereignty were going to be here for this race. Journalism, a shocking entry, right? And look, I mean, he's facing his arch nemesis. There's just no way around it. Of course, a couple of brilliant efforts at Santa Anita, winning 2 prep races there, the San Felipe and the Santa Anita Derby. 2nd in the Kentucky Derby, beaten by Sovereignty in a race where I thought Journalism ran great. Preakness, he almost falls to the ground. He's able to, re-rally and recompose himself and win the Preakness over Gosker. And then the Belmont, I thought he ran absolutely as good as he could, but was beaten 3 lengths by Sovereignty. Just too damn good for him in both the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont. Without Sovereignty, we could be looking at a Triple Crown winner here with Journalism. Of course, if Sovereignty would have ran in the Preakness, we could be looking at a Triple Crown winner for Sovereignty, but that did not happen. We're not going to rewrite history. After the Triple Crown, Journalism wins the Haskell Stakes. Before losing his last 2 races, he was 2nd, beaten 3 1/4 in the Pacific Classic to Fierceness, who just fired a huge race that day. After that race, Umberto Rispoli was taken off the horse. Jose Ortiz put on the horse. I thought put him in a lot better position in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I don't think there's anything to be sad about. He got beat 3 3/4 lengths behind Forever Young, Sierra Leone, and Fierceness. 3 just great horses, right? But he ran a very good 4th. I thought everything, looked good that day. I thought he ran just fine. Now we come back as a 4-year-old. Here's what I'll say. I am shocked he's here, but how good must he be doing to ship from California when he could wait a couple weeks and run on Kentucky Derby? I think will actually be Kentucky Oaks Day in the Ali Sheba, where he knows Sovereignty's not going to be. And let's face it, would probably be 2 to 5 in a race like that. They say, no, they're going to ship here. I think that is very, very confident that they've got a horse here that they think is getting better or has gotten better and is going to be able to maybe beat Sovereignty this year. I also think they might like the distance of 1 1/8 miles. I think they might think, hey, if we're going to beat him, this could be a distance where we could go get him. But I just think the fact that they're here means Journalism's doing fantastic. Jose Ortiz going to ride again. I mean, if you want to take a shot with him, I'm not going to argue. I think this is a horse that's going to come in here and run a pretty big race. And if he wasn't, I don't think they'd bring him here for this spot. Finally, the number 6 is Publisher. And all of a sudden, Publisher, who was 0 for 12, has won 3 straight races. Broke the maiden at Oaklawn this year on February 15th, won an allowance on March 7th, and then won a stakes on Arkansas Derby Day, March 28th. It was an ungraded stakes, but it was still another win. This is a much, much tougher field than what he's been facing. But look, he's been banging heads with some really good horses when he was a 3-year-old and running pretty well. Running well as in kind of sort of around a little bit with them, right? But he's been around. 2nd in the Arkansas Derby, he's 4th in the Rebel. He did get in 14th in the Kentucky Derby, so maybe not close to the big time hitters, but getting better. Glad he's here. Excited to see him run. He's kind of a fun horse. Look, Eric Asmussen's been aboard him the last 3 times, and maybe he's starting to kind of get the feel of how to ride him. Think he's an ultimate long shot here in this spot, but I think he's earned his way to try graded company once again. All right, that is the field of 6. I kind of just have this thing where I'm never going to pick against Sovereignty until he tells me otherwise. And so I'm going to go number 3 Sovereignty on top in this spot. I love Journalism. I do. And I tried to pick Journalism to beat Sovereignty a couple times last year, and it didn't work out. But it was frustrating at the same time because Journalism gave me great efforts and just got beat. Sovereignty just breathing a little bit different air in those races. Look, who knows how they're going to come back as 4-year-olds, right? And if you want to take a little bit of a bigger price on Journalism, I don't really blame you. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go number 3 Sovereignty. I think he is just one of the best horses if not the best horse in training still. I'm super excited to see both Sovereignty and Journalism back. I am very excited. And hey, White Abarrio, the Breeders' Cup Classic winner from a couple of years ago, that's not too bad either. But on top, I'm going to go number 3, Sovereignty. So I'm going to go 3, 5, 1, 6. I know, not very creative. That's just how I feel about it. 3, 5, 1, 6. I love Sovereignty and I love Journalism, so hard to pick against them. 3, 5, 1, 6 for me in this one. All right, guys, I'll do this preview. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get a learning time? We do videos like this. Most importantly, 2 things. If you're at Oaklawn Park, I think I will be too on Saturday. Come in and say hi if you see me. I think it should be an unbelievable day of racing. And stay tuned to the channel for more previews as we go along here. All right, guys, thanks everybody for watching. And good luck if you're betting Oaklawn Park on Saturday.